Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fundamental, land ownership as an investment.
Right. That old saying, they aren't making any more of it, it really holds true.
Exactly. And our mission today is, well, whether you're just thinking about buying some rural land, or maybe you feel like you already own too much land, as one source put it.
Which can happen.
Yeah. How do you take that land, that acreage, and turn it into, well, a passive income machine?
That's the goal. We've looked at the sources and pulled out basically 5 main ways you can start earning money from rural land, like right away.
And the key here is passive income.
Right.
Stuff that doesn't demand all your time.
Absolutely. Income that works for you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So let's start with probably the easiest one to get going quickly.
Okay, what's first?
Hunting leases. It's arguably the fastest way to see some cash flow from your property.
Hunting leases. Okay, makes sense. But it's not just sticking a sign up, is it? What makes one lease worth more than another? The sources seem pretty clear on this.
Oh, definitely. The price you can charge really ramps up based on, well, proof of quality.
Proof like what?
Like seeing lots of rubs on trees, where bucks scrape their antlers. Or having really stellar trail cam photos, big bucks showing up consistently. That's huge.
And having things like food plots already established.
Exactly. Things that show hunters they have a really good shot at success. You're not just leasing empty woods. Prices can swing wildly, from maybe $8 an acre up to $40 or even more.
Wow, quite a range. And what's changed to make this easier for the landowner? Because it used to sound like a bit of a headache.
It was a headache, a
Oh.
total mess, honestly. Trying to find hunters, handle contracts, waivers, it was daunting.
Yeah.
But now, you've got professional leasing companies. They handle pretty much everything.
Everything, like the marketing, the payments.
Yep. Marketing, payments, contracts, and crucially, the liability side. They've got huge inventories of land listed, so it's much more streamlined for both the landowner and the hunter. Takes the work right off your plate.
Okay, that sounds almost too easy. Which brings up the big worry, right? Liability. Strangers on your property, potentially with firearms. How passive is it really if you're just stressing about accidents?
That's the critical point, and that's where insurance comes in. It's been a total game changer.
You mean specific hunting lease insurance?
Exactly. Hunting lease liability insurance and also just vacant land insurance.
Yeah.
It tackles that risk head on.
But wait, couldn't I just get a hunter to sign a waiver? Doesn't that cover me?
Well, yes and no. A waiver helps, but it often has limits. It might not stop someone from suing you if there's a serious accident. And legal battles get expensive fast.
Right, even if you eventually win.
Precisely. True hunting lease liability insurance covers things a simple waiver can't, like immediate bodily injury costs, property damage.
Okay.
And, this is key, it covers your legal defense costs if you do get sued.
That legal defense part sounds massive. That could save you from financial ruin, potentially.
It absolutely could. Plus, these policies often cover things you wouldn't even think of,
Yeah.
like liability related to tree stands or ATVs being used on the property.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, even things like medical payments for accidents that aren't strictly liability issues, say someone just trips and falls, fire coverage, guest liability. It's pretty comprehensive.
So this insurance, it's basically what allows you to actually be passive about it, to not feel like you have to constantly check up on things.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. If you're always worried, always looking over the hunter's shoulder, checking their access points, how they're hunting, well, that's not passive income anymore, is it?
No, that's just another management headache.
Right, so you pay for the policy, maybe a few $100 a year. If your land is good enough to command a decent lease price, say couple $1,000s.
Then that insurance cost is easily covered, a no-brainer for peace of mind.
Totally. It buys you the freedom from management. That's
Okay.
the value.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So moving on from annual income, like leases, what about longer-term plays? The sources mentioned timberland. That feels like something you might overlook.
It's a fascinating one, Timmer. It's definitely a long game, but it can provide income sooner than you might think if you have mature trees already.
How does that work? You just call someone to cut it all down?
No, that's usually not the best strategy for long-term value. The key is working with professionals, like foresters. They specialize in selective harvesting.
Selective harvesting, meaning you don't clear cut it.
Exactly. They identify the right trees to cut, maybe thinning out a pine stand after 15 years to let the best trees grow bigger faster. That thinning gives you some income. Then the big payoff comes maybe 15 or 20 years later with the final harvest.
I see. So it's about managing the forest as a renewable resource, not just cashing it out once.
Precisely. It's kind of a multi-generational thing, potentially. And earnings depend hugely on, what kind of trees you have. Hardwoods are different from softwoods and what the market's doing.
But the passive part is the trees just keep growing.
Pretty much. They grow whether you're actively managing them day to day or not. You just need to engage that forester periodically to plan the harvests. It's the ultimate set it and forget it, almost, where the asset literally grows bigger.
While you sleep.
Yeah.
Huh?
And hey, if your land doesn't have the trees you want, you can plant them. You're essentially designing a future income stream decades down the road.
Interesting. Okay, what about something maybe more traditional, farmland leasing? That feels like it should be pretty straightforward.
It is, and it's a classic for a reason.
Mhm.
Very hands-off, typically. If you've got decent acreage, you're not using, say, 80 acres of open land,
Yeah.
you can usually find a local farmer who'd be happy to farm it. Cash rent is the most passive. Simple. The farmer pays you a fixed amount per acre per year. Doesn't matter if they have a great harvest or a terrible one. Doesn't matter if crop prices go up or down. You get your check, usually upfront or maybe split in 2 payments.
Okay, that sounds extremely passive. Guaranteed income, zero risk related to the actual farming.
Exactly. Predictable. Simple. Now, crop share is different.
How so?
With crop share, you and the farmer share the risk and the potential reward. You might pay for a portion of the inputs like seed or fertilizer, and then you get a percentage of the crop's final sale value, say 25% or something.
So potentially more upside if it's a good year.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
But it also means more risk if it's a bad year. And it requires way more involvement, tracking costs, understanding yields, market prices, more communication.
Right. It sounds less like passive income and more like being a business partner.
That's a good way to put it. So if your goal is that passive income machine, cash rent is almost always the way to go for farm leases. Less potential profit, maybe, but far simpler and truly hands-off.
Got it. That's a really useful breakdown. Okay, let's shift gears to some of the newer opportunities, things really enabled by the internet age. Vacation rentals first.
Yeah, this has exploded. If you happen to have a house, even a small cabin, on your rural land, it's potentially a huge income source now.
Because people want to escape the city.
Totally. Sources were clear. The days of just booking a generic motel are fading. People, especially city folks, will absolutely shell out good money for an experience. Staying in a cozy house out in the country, that is the destination for a lot of people.
And platforms like Airbnb just make it easy to list and manage, right?
Exactly. They handle bookings, payments, reviews.
Mhm.
It takes away so much of the traditional landlord headache. Suddenly, that house isn't just a place you visit. It's an asset-generating income.
Makes sense. And then there's something even newer, apparently, camping rentals.
Yeah, this is really interesting. You don't even need a building for this one. It's about using small, otherwise unused parts of your land.
Like what kind of setup are we talking? Super basic.
It can be. Let's use the example from the source material. Imagine you have, say, 30 acres, and there's a nice little spot near the edge of a pond.
Okay.
Maybe right now it's just weeds or whatever. You could spend maybe $1,000, flatten a small area, put down some gravel for access, build a decent bonfire pit.
That's it.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have a marketable campsite. People will pay, 30, 40, $50 a night just for a private spot like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Using something like Hipcamp or similar platforms.
Precisely. Those platforms connect campers looking for unique spots with landowners like you. It turns that dead space into inventory.
And the effort level is flexible.
Completely up to you. Keep it simple and rustic, just clean the fire pit occasionally. Or you could go bigger, maybe set up a permanent tent, offer more amenities, that's glamping. Higher nightly rate, but also more setup and maintenance.
So lots of options there, depending on how hands-on you want to be. Okay, so we've covered hunting leases, timber, farm leases, both cash rent and crop share vacation rentals, and now camping rentals. 5 pretty different approaches.
Yeah, and the big takeaway, I think, is that while buying rural land might feel complex, maybe even a bit intimidating with all the variables,
Right.
the actual systems available now make generating income much, much easier than it used to be.
You mean the specialized insurance, the rental platforms like Airbnb and Hipcamp, the professional foresters, the simple farm cash rent contracts?
All of that. They create a support structure. It means you don't have to be the expert in everything or the full-time manager. You can actually be the investor.
The barrier to entry for making money from land seems way lower now.
Definitely. The potential's still there, like it always was, but actually tapping into it, especially for passive income, is way more accessible.
It really does seem like you can leverage these systems to stay hands-off.
That's the key. Leverage the system so you remain the investor, not the manager tied down by daily tasks.
So, wrapping this up, thinking about everything we've discussed, the setup, the maintenance, the risk, the return. Here's something to chew on.
Okay.
Which of these 5 paths actually requires the least amount of your ongoing time and attention after that initial setup? Is it the super simple, predictable farm cash rent?
Possibly.
Or maybe the extremely long-term, slow burn of timber where you only act every decade or so? Or is it the potentially higher return but maybe slightly more dynamic hunting lease now that insurance handles the big risks?
That's a great question. It really depends on what you value most. Is it maximum passivity, predictability, highest potential return?
Exactly. Thinking about which factor matters most to you might be the best way to figure out where you should start exploring further.
Good point. There's no single right answer. It's about your own goals for the land.
Well, hopefully this deep dive gave you a solid map of the possibilities. Keep exploring, and we'll talk to you next time.